Hello everybody, this is Max Teabag, and in this video I will be showing you a program I made called Plazmascript, which is allowing you to write code to make Plasma to logic for your maps. And in this video I'm just going to be demonstrating this and just showing you what it's about. So let's say I'm making this map here, and I want to add some trigger logic. So I go in Visual Studio and I'm going to write some code to make some triggers. So let's say I'm going to call this var trigger equals new trigger. I'm going to call this my cool trigger. And then I'm going to run the program. And we see that it's creating an XML document and it's uploading the map to MaxTbag tests. File uploaded successfully. That's what I like. And if I now refresh the level editor, I can see that my cool trigger is now in the map. So this is just an example. And what's kind of cool is that it gets added to the map. So you can seamlessly make things in the editor and it will just be added on top of that. So for instance, if I just rename this to my really cool trigger, and then I run the program, uploading success, perfect. And now if I refresh, you can see that the old trigger was removed and was replaced by this one. So that makes it really easy to make logic in code while you're actually making the map in the editor. So the whole purpose of this of coding instead of using the level editor is because it's much easier to make. Of course, it's much easier to make like walls and design in the level editor, but sometimes it takes a little too long to actually make logic, and you have to use like an interface, and you have to scroll down, find the right triggers, actions, and there's a limited of how much control you have over the things and the other things. So if you're able to have a programming language like C#, you have much more control over what's going on. You can make logic much faster. So I can, for instance, just make a for loop, and I can then just make a lot of triggers. So, for instance, like this. Now I have 10 triggers. For some reason, if you want to do that, you have now 10 triggers in the map. I don't know why you would do that, but here is all the triggers. So you can, as you can notice, yeah, this is not that useful, but you have a lot of control over what you're going to do and stuff like that. So this is not really meant to make. You're not supposed to really make your entire map with code, but only the triggers and actions and stuff like that. So a more useful example is, or useful, just to see what's going on, or what's kind of cool is it's I find it easier to work with variables in code. So for instance, if I make, so let's make a simple thing with code. So let's say we're gonna have a variable. Variable equals new variable, and yeah, I can show you the trigger can add an action, and it takes in a trigger action. So this may be, for instance, variable dot, and then we can say set value to 10, And there we go. By default, all the variables and triggers give have a random ID, and that is completely fine unless you're supposed to use that trigger within your that's going maybe you have like a button, right, that's going to activate one of those triggers. Then you would have to set a manual ID. But for the most part, random generated IDs work fine because it's all kind of relational to each other. So this works fine. So trigger add action variable set value. So now we set a value. We can say something like trigger continue if, and then we can say variable equals 10. And as you can see, it's it goes a little faster than selecting the right type of trigger actions and stuff like that. So you can go like variable is larger than 10, and you can also compare variables with each other. So maybe you say variable 2, and we say that the variable 2 is going to be 20, and then we can say continue trigger execution if variable is smaller than variable 2, for instance. So now if we just see how this would look like, we can upload, and we can now reload. The reason why the region disappeared was because I didn't save the map. That's why. So as you can see, we have like a random ID, and then we say set variable A to the value B, and then we just say set value A to value B, and then we continue execution trigger if it's equal to B, also 10, and then continue execution if it's less than variable A is less than variable B. So that's just a simple demonstration of how you could easily add trigger actions to your trigger with code. And I think the power of this program is that you can make components. So for instance, you can here I made a simple program that allows you easily to make some kind of chat system. So if we just go on map entry here, and we're gonna, so components, I would say a component is a list or is something you would kind of get used, that would get used multiple times. That is useful in a lot of unique circumstances across multiple maps and within maps. So it's like a reusable bunch of triggers and timers and variables, stuff like that. So, and I think the power of this program would be more powerful because this is an open source project, so anyone can contribute and add their own components, so other people could use their components, stuff like that. So this is just an example of using a component which I call chat listener, and this just makes adding commands easier. And I don't know if it's easier for most people. I mean, you need to know how to program, but if you know programming, then making maps becomes faster. So that's, and you have more flexibility. And if you have a lot of triggers and timers and stuff like that, then this will definitely help. So you can get the program at Git. I will link it to the description thingy, but on GitHub it's called Plazmascript. You can download and you can just run it. On default, it just generates an XML. You have to go on PB2 config and follow the instructions to